saint of radio, podcasting. I don't know if there is
St.
one.
Luke, pray for us.
Oh, yeah.
It's actually my middle name.
Oh, wow.
So you were born for
Specifically
this.
St. Luke.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jacob St. Luke Douglas.
Welcome, everybody, to Net Canada Youth Ministry 101 podcast. I'm your host, Julia, and this is my co-host,
Matthew.
And we're joined here by Jacob Douglas.
Mary is the most common word in the United States. Cool fact.
Mary?
Mary. M-A-R-Y.
Like Merry Christmas.
See, this is what we need. This is the content we need.
It's happening. It's all
good.
being got right now.
Oh, amazing.
Has Merry Christmas been canceled yet? After this podcast.
I hope there aren't many things that are canceled after this podcast.
Jesus, Mary, and Joseph were canceled at the end.
Oh, it's true.
We need to now cancel those innkeepers. Cancel. No mercy. Sorry.
All right.
Jacob is like the podcast extraordinaire, so we're very happy to have him on the podcast today.
Yeah, I just idolize podcasts. That's what people are talking about. I just like being on them.
So, before we get into the podcast, actually, could you just give a quick introduction of yourself and what you do here at NET?
Yeah, so my name's Jacob, and I am the Ottawa Ministry Administrator. So, fancy word for I basically run or oversee the youth ministry that NET does here in Ottawa.
Cool.
And I do some other things too,
Just a few other things.
Just a few other things, filling in here and there. So,
yep. He's vital for NET, so.
Yes, I am.
Humility is recognizing truth.
I don't know where to go from there.
Where we go? I'm going to say it this time,
Sure.
but you can say the one at the end.
Okay.
A huge thanks to our co-missionaries, the people who support us, and both spiritually and financially. If you would like to become a co-missionary, you can head on over to netcanada.ca to find out how you can do that. Today, we are going to be talking about, this is kind of a dramatic title, the 3 reasons your youth ministry may be dying.
Whoa.
Dang.
I think if someone were to come up to me and say I was, head of the parish council or a school board person or parish priest, and somebody told me that, right away I'd be like, oh, like I think I'd feel a little offended if I heard that at first, but then I would be like, tell me more, because I'd want to know. It's like if you have a tire, let's say, on your vehicle and it's leaking air, you have to acknowledge it at some point, right? You have to patch the hole or the 3 holes. So the first thing we're going to talk about is a lack of faith-filled adult relationships in people's lives. What do you have to say about this, Jacob?
Okay, I just plagiarize people. People need to know that first off the bat. Like very little I have is original. Like some of it's from my experience, but I just plagiarize everyone. So get good at plagiarizing in the right ways. So
Steal well, steal often.
yeah, steal well, steal often. There's a great series that Why Discipled does with Jim Beckman. I think he teaches at Franciscan University. And he just starts off a series on discipleship with them. You can find it on their website by talking about how people need faith-filled mentors in their life or like people to walk with them. And like it was like 100% of the kids who kept their faith had 5 adult faith-filled mentors in their life before they left high school. It was something like that. I might be misquoting. But the point is, like, it's so important to have faith-filled adults in your life. Like, peers are fine, but, like, when you're 18 or in high school, like, what the heck do you know? Nothing. Like, I wouldn't have wanted to admit that, but that's the truth. Like, looking back on high school, it's like, man, I thought I knew everything, and I really didn't like people who didn't think I knew anything, but I didn't really know very much. And, like, people want, like, faith-filled adults. People just want adults in their life. We need adults in our lives and people with answers. And youth in so many studies I keep reading up on. Springtide Research is a great place to go. They keep talking about how youth don't want more friends. They have enough friends. They have friends. They want adults to be adults. Now, like, I can't just be the type of adult that comes in with all the answers. because, people don't, the old, kind of corny remark, like people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. But
it's corny, but it's true.
Yeah, it speaks to something, which is, sorry, I'm trying to collect my thoughts here. It speaks to something about like, yes, youth actually do want your expertise. They do want your knowledge. They do want what you have to share. But there's a bunch of other things that come first before that, Springtide goes through a bunch of different things. One of them is like they need to know you care, you have integrity. There's two other things. And then the third one is expertise. So, none of us, we all know in our lives, like if someone just comes, if you in the elevator told someone how you're doing and they were just like, oh yeah, just do this. It's like, you're going to be like me, which is like,
Don't tell me what to do.
Yeah, don't tell me what to do. Even though what they said was probably really good. So it's that's even probably amplified as a teenager. So.
Yeah, that's very interesting. How important do you think, well, obviously very important, but just how vital is it that relationships like this are happening in order to ensure a continuation of the Catholic faith? Because where things stand right now, if the faith isn't being passed on, the Catholic faith isn't being passed on to young people, they are the next generation of Catholics, right? So right now churches are emptying. How important is this?
I hope this story is correct, because I'm going to share this story to kind of illustrate. I heard a story one time that Pope John Paul II, when he was a pastor at a parish in Poland, got to know 10 families really well. So as a parish priest, you're responsible for all the families in your parish, but he really invested in 10 of them. Okay, some of my facts might be wrong here, but kind of the moral of the story is what I'm going for. So he really invested in 10. Even as cardinal and then later on as pope, he still invested in those families. He would actually invite those families, and when their kids grew up, he would officiate the baptisms. He would do the first communions. He would even invite them to his summer residence for his summer vacation at the papal household, those 10 families. And so much of the spiritual renewal in Poland and the political movements that brought an end to the communistic rule in Poland stem from those 10 families, whether it was directly those families or their kids or people related to them.
Wow.
So much of it. So it's all relationships. How did the church start originally? We see Paul going around to different places, living there for 2 years or more, and then going on to the other community and then sending back letters, sending friends of his back. It was all based on relationships. Would St. Paul's letters have done anything if he had just been writing letters to random communities that didn't know who he is? Debatable. But it's all relationships. Yeah, I don't know. People always want to know the silver bullet for youth ministry. It's what technique do I need? What how do I lead small groups? How do I do this? How do I do that? How do I have the perfect questions, That stuff is so not the most important thing. The most important thing is the individual. If you love youth and care about youth and have a personal, active, growing relationship with Jesus Christ, you have what it takes. Done. You can be in ministry, and you have all the other stuff will just be added on. Jesus says, seek first the kingdom, and all righteousness will be added unto you, or all else. I hope I'm quoting that right. Misquoting scripture. Translation according to Jacob. Yeah, just if you seek what God wants in your life, and He wants you to evangelize, and you're seeking to evangelize, and you're just going after that with everything you have, everything else will get figured out. It's just I don't need a program is not going to fix things. My love for Jesus and love for others is going to transform things. And yeah, there's tools that help, but they're just tools. You need to be the quality of a masonry job is more dependent on the skill of the mason than it is the tool. Though tools matter. Tools, I mean, if I have no tools, I can't chip the stone. So not going very far. But anyways.
Kind of going off of the mason work, I was thinking as you were talking, Jacob, the relationships are so important that you maintain But I feel like there has to be a balance of not being dependent on them either. So investing in that youth or that friend, but when they move, it's coming back to masonry work, making sure that they have building blocks in place. So if you leave as the youth minister or the youth leaves, showing that you care beyond, what's just in front of you, and reaching out and making sure that they have a community, whether it's like a Catholic men's or women's household, or getting them as much as you can and integrated with a youth ministry program that's close to them, so that even if your relationship, because it's going to look different to what it was, that they've got those supports in place.
Yeah, and that's why we need more than one relationship that's like that. Like, I look back on my high school life, and it's like, there wasn't anyone I was really close with. Like, there are people now, but there wasn't really then. But there was, like, when I look up to, like, people I looked up to who were faith-filled adults, I look at my brother, I look at my youth minister, I look at another volunteer in the youth ministry. There were a couple, and I didn't, like, share a lot with them. I didn't hang out with them a lot, but I admired them, and they were, like, faith-filled people in my life. There were a couple teachers as well. And it's only grown since then. So yeah, we don't want codependency here. We don't want someone's faith to just rely on a personality. I remember walking with a guy at one time, and I just straight up told him, I was like, hey, I'm with you for this point in your life, but there might come a time when I leave and I am not guaranteeing any further communication. Yeah. Like, I'm not, like, very clearly, I am not your friend. Like, yeah, we're friends, like, quote unquote, like, like, it's not like it's all business, Yeah. But, like, I don't know, clarity in relationships is important. And people like that. I don't know. I like it. Even if it hurts, it's like, just boundaries, clarity. It's all good stuff.
This is kind of going off on a little bit of a different tangent here, but, like, what would you say to parents who feel unequipped to catechize their own children? Like, say you're one of the 5 influential people in your child's life. What if you don't feel equipped?
It's just a feeling. You are equipped. That might sound harsh or ignorant of your specific situation, but I don't know how else to say it. Like, if you're willing to love and listen and grow and ask God what you should do and search for the answers, you absolutely have everything it's going to take. It's like, I don't have what it takes. Yes, you and everybody else on the face of the earth. So do something. Inaction is not a good, freezing gets you killed. Don't freeze. Like, do something. Even, like, minute, like the law of, like, the Pareto distribution, like the law of exponential returns. I mean, Jesus talks about this in the Gospel of Matthew. It's often called the Matthew principle. Like, those who have more will be given. Those who have less, even what they have will be taken away. Like, do something. And even if you get 1% better every month, that means by the end of your child's life, you're more than twice as good of a parent, or twice as good at what you do. And you can get more than 1% better a month. So like, yeah, it's just,
like, you want to be upfront about if you don't have the answers as well, because that shows humility, right?
Yeah, and then go look for them. Like, I don't know, like, what more can I ask from a parent, even my own parents, who, like, love me, care for me, listen to me, and then seek to do the best that they can and seek to grow even of themselves and admit their mistakes. And like, I have seen, like, people, like, the idea that, oh, I don't have what it takes. It's like, yeah, the not doing anything, I've seen the biggest harm from. So whatever you do, don't do that. Don't do nothing. That's where I see the most harm come from. And, like, maybe that voice is just a gremlin that just needs to be, is it really helping? Like, is it helping me improve that voice, thinking, like, I don't have what it takes? I don't know. God will provide. He will show a way if I'm seeking the answers and I want to hear them.
to add to the humility and the growth, I just want to say that it's so important because we all need inner healing. We all need to grow. We're never going to be at a place where we're perfectly fixed and,
What are you talking about? I don't know.
But on that note, something I heard very recently, like from my spiritual director, is we can often look at other people and think, oh, if you could just be healed in this area, or if you could, but something that's so motivating is that person seeing healing happen within you. Because we all look at that, we know that, oh, I see that in you and I want that. And there's something so transformative about that. So just continually working on ourselves, I think, is so motivating. So as a parent to a child, if they see that you're growing, that you're humble, that you're working on, continually healing, they're going to want that, whether it's in that moment or years later. So just, I would say on that, work on yourself,
Yeah. And my parents couldn't control me, so you can just do the best that you can. And, God will provide. I don't know how else to say it. That sounds so cliche. And it's like, I don't know, let's say you're missing, what's a tool? All right. I don't know how to, my kid has all these questions and they're not listening to my answers. I don't know what to do. And it's like, well, find another parent you respect, phone them up and ask them if they're willing to maybe take some phone calls with you like once a week where you guys just talk about these issues and you can ask them how they do with it. Like look for others' experience.
Like
I don't
others
know.
in the same boat as you sort of thing.
Yeah. I think parents have a lot more to give than they give themselves credit for. And I actually see this kind of like reverse trend of like parents who are like, oh, I've realized how much I was hurt by my parents. I don't want to do anything wrong. It's like that almost puts you back in the same boat. I remember on my years of net serving as a missionary, I came back my second year and I was like, I'm not going to make any of the same mistakes. I'm going to, resolve the conflicts I have. I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. I'm going to have none of the same mistakes. I did all of them again. And it's almost like it made it worse. So it's like, I don't know. Like I'm not a perfect person, but inaction is worse. Is just in my opinion, my experience. So others might have a different experience.
Lukewarm, I spit you out of my mouth. In Arnold Schwarzenegger voice. Reason number 2, we're going to jump to the second reason, is dependence on finances for ministry. What are some ways that you've seen money be a roadblock to youth ministry?
This is going to be very controversial, but I don't think money is needed to run a youth ministry if you have faith-filled people who will make it happen anyways. Now, I am not saying that parishes should not allocate money for ministry or that that's a bad thing. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying it's not, if you don't have money, it doesn't mean you can't have a great youth ministry. I remember reading a blog of a couple. Actually, I don't know if they had money, so maybe this nullifies my point. But in New Zealand, who started a youth ministry, and they had 3 people come out. And within a year, they had 40 people. And they just made a few key things the objectives. And they put relationships above all else and investing in people and caring about people and listening and not trying to control people. But so they had some relevance, some obvious success there. And I don't know, like, you're telling me the early church had money to get going? You're telling me St. Paul had money? They didn't. And if they can do it, I can do it. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying it's ideal. I'm not saying having money isn't great. Like I advocate for it in the youth ministries I've run or that I do. So, but you don't need money. You don't need a budget. Be self-supporting. Figure it out. It's like, oh, we have to have snacks for our youth group. Snacks are very helpful, let me tell you. Especially getting those grade 6, 8s through the door. They just eat Literally, like over the past couple youth nights, I caught a youth running out with like 9 bags of chips, like shoved in their thing. It's like, no, you can't take 9 bags. Yes, I can. No, I don't know what planet you're on. No, you can't. But it's just not necessary. It's just like, yeah, it's like both on the parish end of things, but also on like the youth ministry budget end of things. It's like, okay, there's no snacks. So how are you going to make it an environment that I would want to come to even if there wasn't snacks? Youth are dying for people just to listen to them, to zip the lip and listen, even if what they're saying is the dumbest, silliest, most wrong thing they could be doing. And it's like, bro, you're hurting yourself so much. I did this exact thing. Don't do it. It's just like, are they even going to be able to hear that right now? And you have to discern, you know, sometimes there's stuff, but like more often than not, it pays to just and just listen. But be curious about things. Like a good trick for me, this might be off topic, is what do I have to learn here? And listen as though they have something to tell you that you can learn from. Because I've tried the whole like listen as if, you know, they're right or giving them the benefit of the doubt. It doesn't work for me because it's so obviously wrong, some of the things they're saying. But listen as though you have something to learn. And then you'll actually listen.
That's in the 12 Rules for Life, isn't it?
It is. Shameless plug.
Jordan Peterson.
Yeah. I find it helpful. And, you know, what are they communicating beyond like the words they're actually saying, you know?
Yeah. So I think that point is pretty relevant in going into the last reason, which is COVID protocols and just the discouragement that comes with that. I think a lot of parishes are going to be, this is an interesting time for youth ministry. I know a couple of the people we've had on here have talked about how many parishes aren't like making any room necessarily, like they just can't afford it right now, or protocols are too strict. Yeah. How do you hold a youth ministry together in a time like this?
You better be praying a lot. There's a lot of discouragement for myself. What am I getting paid to do? Am I doing anything? Is this worth it? Am I just wasting the parish's money or my money or Net's money? Am I really making that big of a difference? I have a big performance mentality. Partially, some of it was how I was raised, but also just my personality as well. I need results. If there's not results, you axe it. Like you just like cut it out. And that's hard in ministry when you're dealing with people because you can't always see the effect. And when you're inviting people to a relationship with Jesus and to turn their life around, you are asking them to change their entire life. Like youth ministry is a hard plug. You're saying, here's all the pleasures of the world over here that are like these amazing lollipops. I want you to give all of that up. Like that's essentially where the message is going, you know, like surrender it all to Jesus, 100%, giving it all. That's a hard sell. That's a hard sell for anybody. But youth in such a dopamine infested or drowned culture is very difficult. And then you have COVID. So it's like, hey, can you please jump on this Zoom call? Which you've already been on for 6 hours today with your school, when you could just jump on Netflix and Instagram that are way, way more dopamine producing, you know? Yeah, I think you got to be rooted in prayer. You got to be seeking God. I'll do whatever you want. I'll do whatever you want. I'll do whatever you want. And just be going after that one step at a time. And ask God to make a way and then take the way. You know, something that gets in my way is I want big results fast. And this year I've really had to surrender to slow and steady. And there's always this gremlin in my head that's, you're not producing the results, blah, 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 blah. You're failing. You're wasting money. You should just go get a different job. Like, what are you doing here? Why are you still in ministry? Why have you been with Net so long? Blah, 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 blah. And it just keeps going. I heard someone call it the chatter of 1,000 monkeys. And you just got to like thank you for sharing. Oh, thanks for sharing. Oh, Mr. I'm no good. Welcome. Good to see you again this morning. You know, I don't do that enough, but it's fun when you do that. You know, get a clown, put it on your thing and laugh at it, being like, oh, that was a crazy thought again, just like that clown over there. Those are some crazy ideas. But I don't know, like if you're not rooted in what God wants you to be doing, it's going to take you out. And it's like really difficult, especially if you're result oriented like I am. But it's worth it. And if you are faithful to what God wants you to do, and even if it doesn't seem like it's producing results fast enough, but you feel you think it's what God would have you do, and you just stay faithful to that, it will produce results, like one person at a time. Something that helped me too is this idea of, are you seeing all the people not at youth group or the people who are at youth group? And I always see the people who aren't at youth group. I just get obsessed with them. I've had youth nights where, like, based on the number of people who walked through the door, my mood just went, and I was just like, what the heck's the point? I just want to go home and eat food. Seriously. Maybe I have a food problem. I don't know. I definitely do. Anyways, moving on.
More snacks at youth group for Jacob.
You're the one who walked out with 9 bags.
No, I wasn't. Do yourself a favor. Don't eat snacks at youth group as a youth minister. It's just disgusting. Too many snacks.
Or bring healthy snacks.
Bring healthy snacks.
Hummus.
You don't need snacks, guys. It really is that simple, in my opinion. Like, I just don't have another way. COVID, there's just too many problems. The ocean's always shifting. It's just too much. If you're not anchored to Jesus and letting him guide you, I can't figure it out. I just get myself in a tizzy and my brain's going a mile a minute. I can't think my way out of these problems. If I could have, then this wouldn't be a problem. But it's a problem because I'm not big enough. But God is. So it sounds so cliche, but it's true. Either I believe that Jesus is God and I can have a relationship with him and he'll tell me what to do, and through other people too. He uses other people. We don't have to play. Yeah.
Something I'd add to that is not to limit the Lord. So it can be so easy to be like, oh, this is the way we've always done ministry. People are so tired of virtual, all of those things. But that in a sense can, and while those things are true, it can place a limiting belief on the Lord and his power to move in a Zoom call. And kind of takes away the need, because there's always a need. I know personally, when COVID first started, I think a temptation I had is like, oh, should Net as a ministry just take a break for a year, you know? And this has gone on for so long, and I'm so glad that we didn't. Like, working in recruitment, I see the missionaries who need a mission field. And as we all know, there are youth and young people, all of us really, who are in desperate need of the truth and of love. And so, not to limit the Lord in his ways of working, and to have that faith that he will work and that the show must go on.
And if protocols allow, meet in person. Like, again, you'll get a sense, like God gave us a gut instinct, like something that just keeps coming up. You know, that's something I've been looking for in prayer. Like, I'm always looking for a new strategy or a new thing. And God is just that still small voice. Do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. And it keeps coming up, and in my brain, it's like, that won't work. The results for that will be too low. Oh, this, oh, that. And then I do it and I stay faithful to it. And it's like, oh, that's working. What the heck? Who knew? You know? God knew. That's who knew. It's like God working in the hearts of these people. So you just need to, as best I can, be faithful to what he's asking me to do there.
Faithfulness. God rewards faithfulness, and he is faithful.
And yes, God will work through all circumstances, but we can also get out of the way and remove obstacles. So, if protocols allow, let's do it. Let's make things happen. Let's remove obstacles. Sometimes there's too much administration or protocols that don't need to be there, and it's important to look at that sometimes. And sometimes there needs to be some tough discussions. Yes, God will work through everything, but let's not stand in the Lord's way if we don't need to be. So again, it takes discernment. I don't know people's individual situations, but God does. Take your prayer time.
I think that's a good note to end on. We always get into, we branch out to all these different things, and then it eventually, it goes right back. It's like, rely on the Lord, trust in the Lord, pray. every day.
My spiritual director won't let up on it. I always go to him and ask him these questions. What should I do for my vocation? Blah, blah, blah. Like all these different things. He always goes back to the same thing. So how's your prayer time? Father, I don't want to talk about my prayer time. I want to talk about the silver bullet. You like giving me some new piece of knowledge that just like, oh, and everything works out. It's never that. He always go back to the same darn thing. And it's my prayer time. And it's like, Father, why did I choose you as my director? I know why I did. Because he's awesome and because he would do stuff like this. But it's every time. I don't want to talk about my prayer time. You know why? Because it's not going very well. Whoa, wow, I wonder why you're struggling then, you know? And it's not going well because I'm not taking it. Not because it's difficult. If it's difficult, it still can be going well. Like that's just, you know? It's like being like, oh God, or your director, it's like, I have marriage problems. Oh man, well, how much time are you spending with her? Oh, no time, just talking to her about like the groceries and what we need to do. Well, how about you sit with them and listen to them? No, that couldn't work. Nah, that would never work. It's like, well, try it out.
Take her on a date.
Be consistent. You know, that's like, well, we went on 30 dates. I thought I would stop. Bad idea, bro. Keep going. Like our relationship with God is exactly the same. This is such a tangent, but it's exactly the same. It's like, it's just like a human relationship. Time.
I love it.
I'm saying this for me. I didn't, full disclosure, I did not pray this morning. Bad on me. I'm speaking my own medicine here, you know? I need help too.
Humble man. Well, thanks for coming on today, Jacob. We appreciate it.
Thanks for letting me rant.
Anytime. I actually love hearing your rant. So
Me too.
would you feel okay leading us in a prayer?
Yes. Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Let us remember we're in the holy presence of a loving God who cares for us. Father, thank you for this time. Thank you for all those listening to this podcast who love you, Lord, who are struggling with you, who have difficult youth ministry, who have flourishing youth ministry right now. Lord, I ask that you are with them, that you bless them as you have blessed me and us sitting here. Lord, youth ministry is difficult. All ministry is difficult. But we love you and we know that you have changed our lives, so everyone has to know. So, Lord, help me and help us just surrender to how you want our ministries to look just for today. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thanks, Jacob.
Thank you.
Once again, thank you, Matthew. Thank you, Jacob.
It's that moment when you're lost in the prayer.
And a huge thank you to our co-missionaries. Thank you so much. We love you. We need you. And if anyone is interested who is not already a co-missionary and wants to learn more about how to become one, visit us at netcanada.ca and follow us on social media at netcanada. That was cool.
I didn't know we were doing the chorus. You didn't brief me.
You can harmonize with people when they're talking.
Okay, try.
I didn't do it very well, though.
Try.
Say at Night Canada. Everybody
Ready?
pick a different note.
I can't harmonize to save my life.
It's okay.
3, 2, 1. Oh, dear.
Thank you so much for joining.
We lost people giving, guys. That was our chance.
That was worse than happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Thank you so much for joining us on this week's episode of the Youth Ministry 101 podcast. We will see you all next time.